Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonigal Boxing Podcast. Let's get straight down to it, shall we? So obviously it's the big fight, post-fight, Josh Kelly, David Avanesyan. A shocker in my eyes. Josh Kelly, for me, started brilliantly. He did everything that he needed to do in them first two rounds. Box, slick, move, jab move, beat Avanesyan to the punch like I thought he would do. He's a better boxer, he's quicker with his hands and his feet, and I thought he very nearly got Avanesyan out there in the second round. He buzzed him, he hurt him, he rocked him, but credit Avanesyan, he's tough. Like I said, he's no stranger to being hit, and he's got a granite chin. He's a tough Russian, isn't he? He keeps coming. I told you he comes to fight. I told you he's there to be hit, but you have to respect him. I also said that Josh Kelly hasn't got one punch knockout power, and it was a little bit worrying that sometimes he was loading up too much. He just needed to systematically break Avanesyan down, and at times, in hindsight, I felt he went for too much too early at times. He was trying to throw too much lever, too big, and you could hear Booth even at times, pace yourself, breathe. But I felt after about round two, maybe he was getting tired, maybe Avanesyan grew in confidence. He kind of took, after that round two, took Kelly's best shot and realised he could take it. But Kelly started to plant his feet more, didn't he? He started to have it with Avanesyan, which was always going to favour Avanesyan. But looking back at the fight again, like I did today, taking the emotion away from it, which sometimes you get when you're watching it live, I think Josh Kelly boxed well. I think for large parts, he tried to box, he tried to move, but he started to tire. And I think Avanesyan's corner, a very experienced former British contender, he's trained Avanesyan, experienced, knew Josh Kelly. This is only his 12th fight, knew that if you put it on him, he was probably going to tire. And this is a problem, though, that Booth fighters seem to have. Groves, Hay, and now Kelly. Now, it's almost like a carbon copy of the Cole Thompson, David Hay, ironically at the Wembley Arena 17 years ago, wasn't it? Hay, explosive, boxing Cole Thompson's head off, rocking him, hurting him. But Thompson, a bit like Avanesyan, tough, experienced, durable, started to walk Hay down, and Hay completely exhausted himself. Round 5. Kelly, round 6, same thing. It is a concern that Booth seems to be fascinated with top, heavy, muscular fighters. He bulked Groves up, he bulked Hay up, and now he's bulked Kelly up. Is that wise, though? You have to wonder, was Kelly holding too much muscle mass? It was interesting that immediately after the weigh-in, he gulped a gallon of water, which says that he's probably dehydrated. Has he overtrained? Has he overbulked? These are questions. I'd like to see Kelly leaner. I'd like to see him come in less bulk, more cardio for his next fight. Another issue, like I said, which is Josh Kelly did start to do, maybe it was tired, but generally it's his style, so I can't really use that as an excuse, is the low hands. I said Avanesyan has got a vicious left hook, vicious, and that's ultimately the punch that knocked Kelly out. But you cannot fight unless you're Floyd Mayweather with low hands and a low guard. The shoulder roll looks cute on Instagram, but it's not effective unless you're Mayweather, unless you've been doing it day in, day out since you're 3 years old. This was the worry I had with Josh Kelly. His hands were low all the time, and he was susceptible to that left hook, which he got caught. He was also unlucky. Obviously, he got a nasty gash at the back of his head, was pouring out blood, and that's never going to help. That's going to weaken you. That's going to tire you. So he was unlucky there, Kelly, and he showed tremendous heart, I felt, to carry on fighting for the next 4 rounds. Even when he got knocked down as well, he got back up, and he would have kept going until he got knocked out. Credit Kelly, had a lot of heart, but tactically naive. He's got to improve his defence. He has to have them hands up higher, and I'm surprised Booth didn't address that. He knows that Avanesyan's got a dangerous left hook, and he keeps coming. He's going to pressure you. Another thing, I think, like I said, I think Kelly needs to lean out. He needs to work on his cardio. He needs to deal with pressure fighters. Again, you have to wonder, were they not working that in training. I know training and fights are different, but if you're smart, you get pressure fighters on you every day, day in, day out for 10 weeks. You over train in many ways for that, so you're prepared. Were they doing that in camp? You have to wonder, don't you? Because I feared, I said this in my previous podcast, is Kelly going to freeze when Avanesyan starts to stick it on him, starts to hit him regularly? And he did a little bit, didn't he? He didn't really have a plan B, and this is something, again, he needs to work on. How do you get out of a hole when you're in one? I don't want to look like I'm laying into Kelly too much, because he's a sublime boxer, and early on he got lovely angles, spinning off after hitting. I thought, this is great, this is how you could deal with Avanesyan. You just box his head off, but he tired. And like I say, he planted his feet. He got caught in Avanesyan's war, didn't he? He couldn't get him off him. And that's two things. If you're not going to be a power puncher like Kelly really isn't, then you've got to completely work on your variety. A bit like Mayweather did against Arturo Gatti, didn't he? Body, head, going off at angles like Kelly can do. He's a mini Lomachenko when he wants to. Beautiful angles, but he got a little bit too head heavy, didn't he? He started to try and hunt Avanesyan's head, and even started to read that, and it was become predictable. So for me, rather than going for power, Kelly needs to expand his punch variety. He needs to mix it up. He needs to go to the hooks, to the head, like he's done in previous fights. But like I said, this was against British level fighters. He kind of panicked a bit when he's fighting, obviously, a world-class fighter. Even though he's a European champion, but he's world-class. There's no question. I don't think he beats, obviously, the elite. I'm not saying he beats Crawford or Spence. I think he'd have a real tear-up with Porter. Porter would probably out-hustle him, but Garcia, he'd give Garcia hell, I think now. He'd give Furman hell. So he's a world-class fighter. And I think Kelly panicked a little bit. I think he lost his composure. I think he lost his boxing technique. Like I say, his feet started to plant. And I started to think his headhunt, the punch variety was lost. You watch him his previous fights, it's body, it's his head, it's beautiful, his combinations. That didn't happen. I think Kelly was starting to load up with single punches, and that takes your toll, trust me. It takes a lot of energy, and you could see he was wilting, he's tiring. So he needs to go back, he'll look at that and go, right, this is what I did wrong. Booth's smart, this is what I did wrong. This is what I need to improve, and I think he will do. But it was pros and cons. The way he boxed was beautiful at the start, but then it happened like I feared it would happen. His punch output reduced. He was loading up on punches, trying to look for power punches. Lack of variety, lack of defence, low hands. You can't do that. You can't showboat. At times, Kelly was starting to do that. I think he was starting to get a little bit overconfident. You could see round 3, you thought he got Avanesyan, but Avanesyan was going tougher and tougher, harder and harder, and you realised actually round 3, Avanesyan wasn't going anywhere, and Kelly and Booth should have realised that as well. So, listen, it's a rebuilding. He's only 26. It's only his 12th fight. Booth was smart. He pulled him out as soon as you realised that Kelly didn't have anything left. So thankfully he didn't take too much damage. He can go again, he can rebuild. I think Kelly needs to go back to British level, title fight level. That's where he should be looking at to rebuild. He wants to go one below European, no shame in that, for 1 or 2 fights. Then work your way back up to European level. Then possibly, 18 months time, go for the rematch. But he's got, he needs a couple of fights to rebuild and, develop his skills. As for Avanesyan, I'd like to see him fight a Porter or Furman. I'd like to see him have a title eliminator. Absolutely. And have a great payday against one of the world champions. He's good enough. He's not going to beat the elite. He's not beating Crawford or Spence. I don't think he beats Pacquiao either. But the rest of them, game on. Credit to Avanesyan. He's made himself a star. At 34, twilight of his year, twilight of his career, he's getting better and better, isn't he? So he's got an iron chin, iron will. He's going to take some beating. As for Kelly, it's rebuild time. He can do. He's got the skills. He just needs the heart, the will, and most importantly, the cardio. Booth, I think, will get it right with Kelly. Be patient, give him time. And trust me, he'll come again. I think 2 years' time, Kelly will be going for a world title shot.